Well, so far our first season in the Bundesliga here at Jahn Regensburg is going extremely well. We sit in a Champions League qualifying spot. Let's see if that continues now that things get a bit tougher in terms of our fixtures today. We take on Bayer Leverkusen before a trip to the Yellow Wall to take on Dortmund. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 56 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Jahn Regensburg. I hope you're doing well and come up today. We've got two of our toughest games so far in this Bundesliga season. First up we host Bayer Leverkusen, albeit those guys not going super well. They're down in 10th, but then we take on the team who we could jump above on this match day if we get a result there against Bayer Leverkusen in Borussia Dortmund, but that one is away from home in front of the Yellow Wall. So if you guys are looking forward to those games coming up in today's episode, but this comes off the back of yesterday's one play, our first derby here at Jahn Regensburg with a late comeback to beat Augsburg, and before then we picked up a draw away at Wolfsburg. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Just one game since then and was off the back of an international break, but thankfully it was against the Mainz team, who of course lost their manager to Anderlecht at the end of last season when they beat us to the title by 1 point down in the second tier. And they've been struggling in the top flight since then, and thankfully we did make the most of it with a 3-0 win. First half goals there to Ruslan from a set piece and Muller from the penalty spot, and Pavicic came on and got one from a set piece in the second half as well. So to be fair, it was a pretty set piece heavy win for us, that one away at Mainz, but still 3-0 in the Bundesliga. You take those when you can get them, especially as a team who were expected to finish rock bottom. So it does mean that we continue our really good form off the back of that unlucky defeat to Cologne on the first day of the season. Those guys are above us but have played an extra game. We sit just below them by 1 point in third. Dortmund are only 1 point clear. We could go above them briefly if we can pick up a win here when we take on a Bayer Leverkusen team who are kind of struggling down in 10th, not doing too well, but they have just taken points off Bayern Munich, albeit those guys also not doing super well this season. They're down in 8th, so somehow after 7 games played, we're still above Bayern Munich and by 3 points as well. So fingers crossed we can keep that going for as long as possible. Maybe we'll get Pep sacked and then we might have a bit of a decision to make. But Bayer Leverkusen, we've got first up. To be fair, before those last couple of results against some good teams in Bayern Munich and Gladbach, where they have dropped points, they were looking quite decent, albeit only one of those games was in the Bundesliga. They have been Juventus though and Rapid Wien in the Europa League, so it looks like they're going quite well in the second tier of Europe. The Bundesliga though, they are just bumbling along a little bit so far. So hopefully with this one being at the Jahn Stadion Regensburg, we can pick up a decent result. The manager does like a 4-3-3. They've got some decent players in their squad. Jonathan Tah, the captain, Tap Sober, the vice, Boniface is their key player, albeit I'm pretty sure if we go back to the home screen, he's out injured. Indeed he is. That is with blisters. That might be a little bit long term. 3 to 9 days to be fair, not too bad. He's also wanted by Liverpool, so he might not be there for too much longer, albeit I suppose transfer window now doesn't open up until January. And also they're missing Parola with a broken toe, so a couple of definite first team starters there for Bayer Leverkusen, who they are currently missing. He's out there for a little bit longer as well. That one suffering that defeat to Gladbach, and he's wanted by Saudi Arabia. So a couple of players quite big for them, injured and wanted currently there for Bayer Leverkusen. Hopefully we can make the most of that, seeing as we're pretty good in terms of the injury front. Nothing major. Paul Cooper coming back from a recent one, and Tabukuya from a tight calf, but thankfully he can handle starting this first game in today's episode. So it's a good chance for us here to continue our good form, but certainly one of our biggest tests so far against the Leverkusen team, expected to be one of the better ones, and behind the big two obviously, and of course Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. So very interesting to see that Bayern have struggled so much so early this season. Hopefully that might continue up until we take them on about a month or so's time. So it does mean we can put our best 11 out here for this first game of today's episode so far. Absolutely no drop points at home, all wins. Definitely though, this is our toughest test so far against the team expected to finish 4th, but they have been struggling. So fingers crossed we can make the most of that and pick up a decent result here. Even a point against Leverkusen would not be too bad. I'm expecting to maybe lose our first one since the opening match day in that second game of today's episode, because Dortmund away, that is about as tough as it gets at the moment, especially as Bayern are not going as well as BVB are. But there's our lineup. It's our first choice 11 in that 4-2-3-1, which has been working a little bit better than the 4-3-3 here so far. And our analyst does recommend that we stick with it there by Leverkusen with their 4-3-3. Fingers crossed that we might just be able to be a bit attacking against that formation and get the edge over them here while we are in a good patch of form. If we beat these guys, then their manager might be in a spot of bother. That might be an interesting job if it came up. We'd have to see how many points behind us they'd be if it's something that we'd be interested in. But first up, got to pick up a result here. If we don't, then maybe he'll actually get to stay there because that result would be quite good for them this early in the season. But an early corner here, we try and put that one far post, but the goalkeeper there in Dzinski does come out to claim that one, takes his time here on the ball, and he does take a fair bit of it too before pumping this one deep here, trying to get it in behind there, Dawn down our left-hand side, but heads it down nicely to Manrique now over the top there, picks out Walden nicely, and goes back to Jimenez, who does cut inside now. Lopez looking here for Taberquia down our left-hand side. It's a bit messy there from the Bayer defence, and then Ramsey can thump that one home. So a bit fortunate that we've got a chance there to take the lead, but we get it done just shy of the 15-minute mark to take an early lead here in front of our home fans. Nice ball here from Taberquia to keep that in, but Gorner tries to clear it, doesn't do too well with that header, and Ramsey tried to put that top right corner. Muller actually a fairly decent deflection, a bit surprised that he didn't actually get the credit for that goal in the end, but doesn't matter. We take a 1-0 lead back on the attack here only a few minutes later, and we continue to keep camped here inside their half. Ramsey is back on the ball, pulls that back to Jimenez. We look far post, no one home, but that clearance, again, not too good. Dawn can keep us here on the attack. Lopez will find Jimenez now in a ton of space back in there for Walden, who squares it nicely for Aaron Ramsey looking for a double, and that one forces a good save out of the goalkeeper. They clear it out there off the back of that for a corner, but for now, we'll be going top, and to be fair, so far these highlights that we're seeing, we're looking very threatening, really. We have a couple of good chances now to make this 2-0. Ruslan, that one just gets saved and also comes off the woodwork. I think that was good save there from the goalkeeper and work from their defence, but so far, well and truly, all over this Leverkusen team, which is actually super encouraging against the team expected to be the 4th best in the Bundesliga. I dare say the 3rd best, that would be RB Leipzig, who's probably one of the few teams I'll definitely rule out managing in this save, because we're just coming off the back of that RB Kloppbot save, where we did spend a fair amount of time there in Leipzig winning a Champions League. So I don't think we need to go back there, but Leverkusen looking very, very average so far. We've been dominant over them in that first half. The only slight concern is we've only got a 1-goal lead. Really, with some of those highlights we saw, we probably should have made it to that second highlight there. Ramsey, the good save off him, and then Ruslan came close from the set piece that did come off the back of that. It's only 1-0, so fingers crossed that maybe we can put the foot down. They've made quite a few changes here going into the second half, and early on, they're going to try and make their way here out from the back there, Captain Tar, and they eventually go forward here to the right-hand side. I think that's Luca Romero, who's made his way off the bench, but he's a bit loose on the ball, and we can get that one back there. And now Ruslan, nice ping over the top there for Walden again, down our right-hand side, plays in there for the goal scorer, and Ramsey and Jimenez will float this far post, but far too much on that one, and the goalkeeper, and Mendes Dzinski, can claim that one rather safely like he did in the first half before we scored that opening goal. Pumps that one deep. Thankfully, Jimenez is quite aware on it, and we get in behind. Nice through ball there for Aaron Ramsey again, but the goalkeeper is having a little bit here of a blinder off the back of that opening goal that they did concede, so it's still only 1-0, albeit then Ruslan, his shot saved, but Muller somehow then beats the goalkeeper, who's been doing a pretty good job to keep this at only 1-0 from a tight angle, and we finally grab a cushion goal. So Bayer Leverkusen here are looking completely at 6s and 7s. That shot there, it might have even came off the woodwork instead of a save, and then Muller, I'm not too sure how there we've got that one in the back of the net, but we haven't. I think we actually deserved that 2-0 lead. So far, this has actually been a pretty cruisy game. Battering Bayer Leverkusen was not something I had on my bingo card for our first season here up in the Bundesliga. Now, Sebastian Lopez picks up a yellow card. We'll play things safe here and take him off for the young Italian and Giuseppe LaRosa. But I'm pretty sure that's all we need to do at the moment, because we're looking freaking good here against supposedly the 4th best team in Germany. I'm starting to doubt that because they're looking very, very average here. We are battering them and hold a 2-0 lead. And now it's Aaron Ramsey, our first goal scorer, is playing well, but drops down to a red heart. Jahn Regensburg of accidentally left on the bench there off the back of yesterday's episode. I forgot to put Kamara back in the team after that wee injury that he had. So this might actually be a debut here for Jahn Regensburg. Hopefully he might do something good here while we're on top of a team like we are here against Bayer Leverkusen. We're off the back of that sub going through a corner, and Ruslan this time will hit the target, pounds that one into the top right corner, does our big Georgian centre back, and these days the club captain with Bullich down in the B team. That makes it 3-0, and really this is looking like 3 very, very comfortable points here from this first game of today's episode. So a bit surprised that Bayer Leverkusen have put up such little fight, and with that in mind, might be a good time here to make our last couple of subs. Of course, it is going to be our final stoppage. We'll bring on here Pavicic for Hubner also. Let's try the American for to work. We are coming back from that recent injury, and also we might take off there Lewis Walden for Toff, give him some game time at right wing and see what he can do, because Muller has picked up a goal today, which hasn't always been the case so far this season. Our starting strikers haven't been going super well, but today they're not doing too badly. Good chance there from a throw-in, but just can't quite curve that one inside that right hand upright. That might have even been Ramiro looking there for a debut goal. Now Dawn does pick up an orange injury, but there is a highlight just as that goes through, and of course we have now used all our subs, so maybe that wasn't the best idea. Fingers crossed that Leverkusen don't get a super late surge and get the better of us now that we are carrying an injury. Luca Romero there plays that one in there to a teammate, and now they go back out there. Luca down the right-hand side. A good foot in there. That might have been from the injured Dawn. Unfortunately, though, Leverkusen keep that one, and Meridi can put it away in the bottom right corner. So off the back of that, we'll just start to time waste ever so slightly. Don't think we do anything too serious just yet as we make our way to the final 10 minutes. But unfortunately, Leverkusen, they do break our clean sheet, which to be fair, we haven't kept too many of this season. Our defence not quite looking as strong as it was in this Vi Bundesliga last season, but still, we should be pretty good here to pick up 3 points off the back of the time wasting. It's only one goal with one of the few attacks I've had so far in this game, and now just to play things absolutely safe, let's chuck our wingbacks here onto fullbacks on support, drop our tempo and time waste even more, just to make sure these guys don't make it 3-2 or anything silly like that, because this would be a really poor result if we don't pick up a win here. We've been all over them for the best part of 90 minutes. Let's not bowl it late like we've done a few times already so far this season. Up in the Bundesliga, as Jimenez there does what he's supposed to and wastes a fair bit of time from that throw. Now Toff does cut inside. We'll take on a shot. That one must have taken a deflection of Gunkut Haig here. It's an own goal, and we are absolutely picking up 3 points from this game. We make it 4-1. Bayer Leverkusen look like an absolute mess. How have they picked up wins in the Europa League? Because they look decidedly average here on this match day. They look like maybe flat track bullies at home. Not too good away. This is a big result for us here against supposedly the 4th best team in Germany. They're certainly not looking like it, because that is a statistical battering, and we made it count as well. On the score sheet, we pick up a 4-1 win. To be fair, the goalkeeper had a pretty good first half as well off the back of that opening goal, which we did score. So to be fair, that could have been a whole lot worse. And they did make quite a few changes there late on to their team. A lot of players out there who didn't get ratings. They went very defensive, trying to shut us down. So a bit of a weird one, that one from Bayer Leverkusen, as we thumped them 4-1. That is a superb result. Maybe we're a bit better than I thought would be this season. I thought we'd do okay against the fellow relegated teams, seeing as they've had some managerial changes and we do better transfers than they do because they're AI. But we now are actually beating some quite decent teams here in our first season. We go top of the league, albeit might be temporarily, with Dortmund having that game in hand. We'll come back and see if we can knock them off in front of the yellow wall. So a bit of a statement win for us there first up in today's episode, 4-1 over Bayer Leverkusen. That was an absolute hammering. Let's hope we can take that momentum into Borussia Dortmund away from home. These guys, though, not top of the table like I thought they'd be. They're in 5th. They were playing Der Klassiker on that prior match day and got beaten 2-0 by Bayern away. So maybe Bayern are now starting to find their form there down there in 7th. We're up in 2nd. Dortmund have dropped to 5th. We're behind Cologne, which I suppose makes sense. That's the only team so far this season who have beaten us, but they've also played one more game. So a win here, and we'd go back top of the table once we catch up to games played there with Cologne. Surely we can't win the league in our first season here with Jahn Regensburg. We'll give a good crack here in this game where we take on Borussia Dortmund off the back of that 2-0 defeat, but these guys actually only expected to be the third best team in Germany, which is a bit of a surprise. Maybe it's Leipzig there. No, apparently it is Dortmund who should be second, but Leipzig might be up there second in terms of the season preview, in terms of the club info page. Indeed, that's the case. So I suppose that Leipzig and Dortmund are battling it out to be the best of the rest there and behind Bayern Munich. But still, this is a team you'd expect to be right up there in Borussia Dortmund. So let's see what we can do here. Definitely one of our toughest games, though, in the first part of the season, as it's away from home. I'm pretty sure in about a month or so's time, we take on both Bayern and Leipzig, but those are at the Jahn Regensburg. We might have a sneaky chance now off the back of that result we just picked up against Bayer Leverkusen, but that team might be in all sorts of trouble based on what we just saw. Thankfully as well, no injury concerns off the back of that previous game. Of course, Dawn went down to quite a big red heart late on with that orange injury, but thankfully just a tight groin. He's fine to play this upcoming game, so no changes from what we did there in that 4-1 win over Leverkusen. Let's hope we can maybe hand Dortmund here back-to-back defeats for the first time in the league this season and go back on top of the Bundesliga, but obviously away from home against one of the big guns. This will be a lot tougher, I imagine, than what we just have first up there in today's episode. But to be fair, they're only one spot or two up on that season preview compared to that Leverkusen team that we did just thump 4-1. So maybe this tactic is a little bit too good here in the save. Maybe I need to force myself to change it if we continue to do quite well here in this first season up in the top flight. Let's see, though, how we go in a proper tough test as we take on here Borussia Dortmund away from home. The exact same starting lineup as we had for that previous game. Just one change we have made to the bench. Collier, our usual backup deep line playmaker, on a heavy workload and quite injury prone. So Schneier comes in. He's someone that we did sign on the cheap. Can't quite remember who from. It might have been from Ajax or someone like that. Pretty sure he's a Dutch midfielder, but we signed him on the cheap to be a third choice. He'll make his way there onto the bench for this game. But apart from that, the exact same team that handed their Leverkusen that absolute 4-1 battering in that first game of today's episode. So let's hope we can continue that momentum and pick up here what would be a massive result away from home in front of the yellow wall. To be fair, early we did get a shot on target, but Dortmund had one off the back of that. They did pick up a yellow card not too long after that. But so far, a pretty even game that we ever so slightly, we're now getting on the front foot in here as we make our way just past the 20-minute mark. So it's actually an encouraging start for us here in this game. Dawn on that yellow card is a little bit of a worry, albeit we can probably take him off for Sousa at halftime. That might not be the worst idea off the back of that little injury he did pick up in that first game. But the first highlight here, we are on the ball from a throw and go back to Ruslan and all the way back to Lukic, picks out Hübner, who tries to put one in there over the top. It's a bit hairy there in the midfield, and Dortmund do get that ball back, but Walden tracks back nicely, and we do get back on the ball as you expect from Dortmund, putting a lot of pressure on us here as we try and make our way out from the back. Dawn there gets put under pressure, goes to Hübner, and we go all the way back to Lukic. So thankfully, this low tempo working quite well so far against Dortmund. That ball was very 50-50. Thankfully, Jimenez does win it now. Walden will square that one, and somehow Rene Müller wins the race to that ball and can beat the goalkeeper and make it 1-0 Jahn Regensburg. Can we pull off two massive results here in today's episode and get ourselves on top of the Bundesliga? Not too sure if it will stay that way, because there's some weird stuff going on in terms of how Cologne have played one more game than everyone else, but that is a pretty nice goal from us there. Quite fortunate that Jimenez did get that pass down our right-hand side, but thankfully we then go on the attack and Müller can put that one away and we take a 1-0 lead, albeit now there is a corner here to Borussia Dortmund. They go edge of the box. They play a ball in there for their striker, I think that was, but thankfully a good save from Lukic, and also he was offside. But now Dortmund off the back of that opening goal are starting to wake up. As you see there briefly, we are on top of the table. Let's see if we can stay here, because Dortmund, we might have woken up the giant here in front of their home fans. They keep the ball. Müller there with a really good foot in. We can't keep the ball though, and now Dortmund here will hit us somewhat on the counter-attack. Konrad Laimer is up quite high and puts that one away to make it 1-1. If only Müller could have kept that ball when he got a foot on it just before this highlight did start. Unfortunately, from there, our defence does kind of rush up out of line. It's a lovely through ball there to Laimer. A good finish into that top left corner, and Sewell picks up the assist and it is 1-1. So unfortunately, off the back there of grabbing that first goal, a little bit unlucky, as I thought Muller there could have kept the ball, but a little bit loose there with his interception, and Dortmund break quickly and make it 1-1. But it looks like that'll be the scoreline at half time. Maybe not the throne here for Dortmund as we're about to make our way onto the brink of the end of injury time. They float that one far post. Pretty iffy there from us, but Lukic comes up with a big save. Might be a chance here for Muller on the counter-attack, but the referee blows half-time at a slightly annoying moment, but that is a pretty good first half. 1 all the way at Dortmund would not be a bad result, albeit our players down the left-hand side not doing too well. I was going to take off Dawn anyway on that yellow card for Sousa, but on a 6.4, we'll definitely do that. And also American for Tuberquia, who also sits on that 6.4. So a couple of changes there down the left-hand side, fingers crossed, that might get that side going a bit better here in the second half. But to be fair, we've done pretty well, even though Dortmund did create some really big chances off back of that opening goal that we did score, and they did take one to make it 1-1. Now Walden, playing quite well, does pick up a yellow card. We'll get him for the moment to ease off tackles here early in the second half. Maybe we take him off later because Rene Muller does look like he's in some quite good form. Maybe Toff will come on at some stage there for Lewis Walden at right winger like we did in that previous game. But so far, we're matching up okay here with this Dortmund team, pushing them quite hard. Certainly not on top stats-wise like we were in that Leverkusen game, seeing as this one is away. But putting up here a pretty decent fight. But Aaron Ramsey now does drop down to a 6.4. Adama Kamara this time we've put on the bench. I realised that off the back of that first game, so he can come on there in central attacking midfield. But to be fair, apart from that, not too much here I think we need to do, albeit if we make subs now, these guys coming on, Kengida, Rain and Hubner going a little bit fairly on a 6.5. We'll bring on Pavicic, who can be quite threatening from set piece. Him and Ruslan could be quite dangerous if we get some corners here late on in this game, so we'll try that. And with just under 10 minutes left, we've got a free kick here. We take it short. Unfortunately, do lose the ball there briefly. Thankfully, Ruslan is well positioned to get that one back for us. We try and get on the attack. Kamara now a couple of loose touches in this highlight since he's come on, but thankfully so far, nothing too costly. We do get pushed backwards there, but now try and make our way forward. Munri can find Sousa in a bit of space, and of course he does like an assist there down our left-hand side, puts that one in for Kamara. Some good passing, and then a chance for Walden, but his shot gets blocked, so a decent chance for us there now down the other end for a free kick. Dortmund, they get a header off. Thankfully that one goes just over the bar. It's still 1, all decent chances there for both teams. I dare say ours was a little bit better. And with our final sub, it's both Walden and Manrique down to red hearts. We'll bring on Toff there for Walden. With that yellow card situation, do think that might be the smarter idea. Manrique in midfield, you could argue, probably someone we need legs with more in that position. But I do like Toff more at right wing than someone like Schneier coming on there for Manrique, who so far has been pretty good for us here at Jahn Regensburg. But there is a highlight here. We try and pump that one deep from the goal kick. Thankfully, eventually win that ball back there, and now we're going to try and make our way out from defence. Manrique, though, with a horrible back pass. Oh dear, we should have taken him off. Let's go attacking and try and rescue this, but that is a shocker there from Manrique. Dortmund put us under pressure, and it pays off. We concede a very soft goal. They make it 2-1. Be a little bit screwed over there by both goals we conceded in this game, because the first one, Muller got a pretty decent foot on a chance there to win the ball back for us, just couldn't control him there. We're supposed to be playing with a low tempo, but Dortmund put us under all sorts of pressure, and we give the ball away, and they can make it 2-1. We're trying to knock it about here at the back, doing a decent job at Ruvzan there to Manrique. Not too sure who that pass is supposed to be to, but Gadasai gets on it and puts it past Lukic to make it 2-1. And unfortunately, only 1 more minute here of added time. We've gone more attacking with our rolls and our tempo. It does not pay off. We drop point hit again from a winning position. Not too unexpected because it was Dortmund away from home, but that really feels like, much like the Cologne game at the start of this season, that was one that we should have got at least a point out of. Unfortunately, a bit of a shocker there at the end from Carlos Manrique. To be fair, he's been great for us ever since we've got here to Jahn Regensburg and we signed him off of Real Oviedo, but that is a costly mistake. We end up losing that one 2-1 at Dortmund, and it does mean we drop down at the moment to third on that Bundesliga table. So unfortunately suffer our second defeat here of the Bundesliga season with Jahn Regensburg. Another late goal there, just like was the case against Cologne on that first match day. It is a 2-1 defeat. Go aside off the back of that poor Manrique back pass. As I said, was expecting to lose that game, but that really, based on how it played out, was one that we should have got something out of it. To be fair, we're still tracking pretty well here. First season up from the second tier with Jahn Regensburg. We're still above Bayern, albeit that is now on goal differential, have dropped down to 5th off the back of a few more games on that match day, but do still have that game in hand over Cologne's looking quite good here in this first season with Jahn Regensburg, especially given what we were targeting was just to stay up. We're now 11 points clear of Nuremberg in that promotion relegation game spot. We should be pretty good. Only a quarter of the way through the season, I don't think we'll be involved in a relegation battle unless we go join one of those teams, which we definitely won't, but I think they will do it for today's episode. Really nice win there over Bayer Leverkusen. Then kind of got FM'd there late on by Borussia Dortmund. I say FM'd, they dominated that one stats-wise. Just a bit of a harsh goal to concede late, but if you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, what we come back for in tomorrow's episode, originally I was going to plan and come back for the second round of the DFB Pokal, but Stuttgart are not going very well this season. They're down in 17th. They were supposed to be the 9th best team, so I'm not too sure what's happening to those guys. Their manager has quite interesting eyes. They're kind of creepy, kind of dreamy. Not too sure what's going on there with Thomas Schneider. Not too sure if he'll have a job much longer, though, if we beat him into about the next 3 games. We've also got those guys in the Bundesliga. We should, though, I dare say, even if we rotate, have a decent chance of getting through the third round of the DFB Pokal, though. So I might skip over that game and what we come back for in tomorrow's episode. It might be Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. Not doing super well this season. That game is also at home. Did pick up the DFB Pokal last season, so probably a good test for us there in that game coming up next time in the Bundesliga. And then we might skip forward maybe and take on Gladbach. Those guys have been a little bit hit or miss so far this season, but when they're on, they do look quite dangerous. That might depend if we make our way through the third round, though, of the DFB Pokal. Let's just see when that game is, because so far we haven't made our way through that deep in the DFB Pokal. It's the 4th of December, so to be fair, not too sure if that Gladbach game will still be there if we get past Stuttgart like we probably should in our next game I'll play off camera. So we might come back tomorrow, the original plan, Eintracht Frankfurt and Gladbach, but could also be Frankfurt and the third round of the DFB Pokal. So we'll see what we take on there during the course of it. Tomorrow's episode definitely will include that Bundesliga game where we take on Frankfurt at home. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.